Also, because of Brexit, there are quite a few truck drivers missing in Great Britain. This now also has consequences for pubs. Beer is running out in some pubs. No beer. There are delivery problems with certain brands in some branches, announced the pub chain JD Wetherspoon on Wednesday. The company apologized to its customers and assured them that everything would be done with the breweries to solve the problem. According to the Road Haulage Association, around 100,000 drivers are missing, as you heard me saying in a lot of videos already. An important reason for this is Brexit. Many drivers from Europe have left the country and new ones are hardly added because complicated and expensive visa procedures are now necessary. Wetherspoon boss Tim Martin was a vocal supporter of Brexit, though. Most recently, however, he called for a more liberal immigration system. That's the first I hear from a Brexiteer. Because of the shortage of drivers, there were also supply problems at the fast food chains McDonald's, Nando's and KFC. There are always empty shelves in supermarkets. The logistics industry is demanding unbureaucratic visas for European drivers and better subsidies for driving tests. And in British supermarkets, things have not been going smoothly for weeks. Holes keep opening up on the shelves. One day there's no salad. Tomorrow some meat products will be missing. The day after tomorrow will be bread or coffee that will not be refilled. There are no socialist conditions, but the selection is smaller than the British are used to, and the shortage is great enough to attract attention in a society used to abundance and countless sorts of toast. They have never experienced such delivery problems, and he doesn't have, said Steve Merles, the head of the supermarket chain Co-op. The consumer can feel it, even when he doesn't go shopping. The Nando's restaurant chain closed 50 branches in August because not enough chicken was delivered, and competitor KFC cut the menu, and as I made a video on it, McDonald's ran out of milkshakes and other drinks. The Greggs bakery chain is also struggling to fill its shelves. The large pub chain Wetherspoon, as I said, apologized this week because the beer selection is limited. Thankfully, I don't have that problem here because a lot has started here again. Brexit has played its part in this mess. It broke the barrel. Supply chains are currently stalling in many countries. Global logistics is off the track for many reasons. The corona pandemic plays a major role. But above all, industry and manufacturing are complaining about delivery bottlenecks. But in Great Britain, there is a second problem. And that also makes some food scarce and is therefore particularly visible. There is a shortage of people, and the exit from the EU is the main reason for that. Great Britain suffers from the shortage of truck drivers. And as I said times and times again, the associations, all of them, complain about the lack of drivers, and the estimates are going between 90 and 100,000. Even before the pandemic, there was a deficit of 60,000 drivers, according to the RHA. But since the beginning of the corona crisis, thousands of drivers from EU countries have left the island, and during the corona crisis, the transition period ended. There were 300,000 truck drivers working in the UK from 2019 to 2020, and 15% were from the EU. And so how do you do this if you lose a lot of them? The EU share shrank to 10% now. And that's not completely surprising. During the pandemic, a return of foreign workers was observed in many places. But the 2016 Brexit referendum had already dampened immigration from the EU. For freight forwarders, there was the deterrent chaos in customs clearance recently when the Brexit transition period ended at the turn of the year. The UK thus left the EU internal market. The chaos has now subsided, but a torrent of bureaucracy will continue to accompany UK trade with the EU. That makes EU internal journeys more attractive for drivers. And the exit from the EU also stands in the way of a solution, namely the attempt to win back EU drivers or to recruit new ones. Settling on the island as an EU citizen has become considerably more difficult since the turn of the year. Immigrants from the EU now have to qualify for a normal work visa according to a point system. But a truck driver is considered to be poorly qualified and collects few points with his low salary. Logistics UK is therefore calling on Prime Minister Boris Johnson's government to provide 10,000 short-term visas for EU drivers. The new immigration system also provides for temporary work visas in various categories, for example, for up to 30,000 harvest workers. But freight forwarders are excluded, according to Logistics UK. The government responded negatively and bluntly. The British people voted several times to end the free movement of persons and regain control of the immigration system. Employers should invest in local workers, a spokesman was quoted as saying. The training to become a driver takes 18 months, which is why rejection is not very helpful for the acute problem. But it goes even further, bypassing reality. Firstly, the specific design of Brexit, and it has now become reality in a hard version, was never up for vote. Second, the introduction of short-term visas does not mean a return to the free movement of people in the EU. But don't use facts against this government. They won't listen. However, the visas can provide temporary relief for a temporary part of the problem. The shortage of truck drivers is partly due to the fact that the British offspring got stuck. For a long time, no training or driving tests could be completed during the pandemic. That's just another reason for the misery. The deficit has to be caught up before additional training can begin. And there's also the shortage of EU workers elsewhere. Poultry farmers and processors complain that 16% of the jobs in the sector are vacant. The British Poultry Council is also calling for visa simplifications, as traditionally 60% of workers in the industry came from the EU. Warnings are already given about bottlenecks for Christmas turkeys. Another meat processing association asked the government to release more prison inmates. They then can be hired on a daily basis. In some industries, the lack of EU migration is likely to be a major reason for labor shortages in the next 1 to 2 years, analysts from Capital Economics expect. These included transport and logistics, as well as the manufacturing industry sectors with a traditionally higher proportion of EU workers. The government apparently wants to give preference to immigrants from the rest of the world when issuing visas, according to The Economists. The long processing time for visas and the corona travel restrictions, which are the last of all pandemic measures to be lifted, would make things even more difficult. However, there are also imbalances in the British economy, which have been reduced to a tolerable level and thus covered up by the unrestricted access of the reservoir of EU workers. Otherwise, logistics would not have been complaining about too few drivers for years. The industry is outdated because entry is not attractive for young Britons. This is also due to the low salary, a poor compensation for the hardships, and long working hours. Meat processing and agriculture are similarly unpopular. The low labor and transport costs bring the British to exceptionally low food prices, which are cemented by fierce competition between the supermarket. This could change soon. Since the beginning of the pandemic, truck drivers' wages have risen by 30%, as would be expected from supply and demand. And of course, a shortage in those areas is nothing specifically in the UK. In the rest of the in the EU now, it's not the rest of the EU anymore because they are out. There are shortages too, but no way to an extent like we see them in the UK. Because there is one general problem in these professions, and one part of it is wages. But Brexit has made this problem so much worse in the UK than in any other European country. And so it wasn't a good idea to do that. And on the other hand, all the Brexiteers claiming they are taking away our jobs. Why are those people not taking those jobs now? I'm still waiting for the answer. Because if they were queuing up for jobs taken away by the mean Europeans, where are you guys? So it will not be filled just with workers from home. I can promise you that. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.